The last few days, we have seen time and time again ICE and their operations increasing all across Central Florida, hitting pretty much every side of our community, from Metro West to Apopka, from Osceola County to Seminole County. There is no safe space right now here or in our beautiful community. But in this MLK Day, it will be remiss to not remember the legacy of peace and racial justice left for us to continue to do. And as we continue to focus on the efforts of the future and the present to protect and to elevate our community, I wanted to talk about a couple of things. First of all, I want to point out that map right there. We went from about 5 operations in our community per day to 60 in just one day. As you can see in that map, that exemplifies as far as even close to Lakeland, all the way through the core of Orlando. Hope Community Center has been extremely exhausted from the amount of calls that we've been receiving from people in the Brazilian community, the Haitian community, the Venezuelan community, the Mexican community, and everyone in between. This is also, here I want to show the next, and this is what these operations look like. Oftentimes, Florida Highway Patrol is involved, other state agencies are involved, and we are seeing exactly what we have seen across the country, agents masked, taking our community in the middle of the night and sometimes in broad daylight. We have heard from U.S. citizens that have been followed for several miles on the highway, only to be told that, the fact that their ID didn't look like however they thought it should, and have been threatened to also being detained. And then the other picture that I want to share is this potential warehouse, this warehouse that will potentially serve as a detention center. We have confirmed from several sources that this is indeed in the plans. This is part of a national plan by ICE in which they are looking at warehouses across the whole country. This warehouse here, I personally went and saw with my own eyes. This is not fit to house people. It is a warehouse created to store merchandise. And I want to remind everybody in this community that we are human. And as human beings, we deserve human dignity. And we will never rest until our dignity is respected, restored for every single person who lives here, whether they are an immigrant or not. So I'll share this briefly in Spanish. Buenos días, buenas tardes, bienvenida a Hope Community Center. Me llamo Felipe Sosa La Savalla y soy el director ejecutivo de Hope. Bueno, en los últimos pocos días vimos una gran operación de ICE por toda nuestra comunidad, de Metro West a Apopka, de International Drive a Osceola County. No hay ningún lugar a donde estamos viviendo una vida sin el miedo, sin el temor de tener nuestras vidas aterrorizadas por ICE. Empezamos con el mapa que enseña más de 60 operaciones por toda nuestra región. Luego también una foto de una de las operaciones que indica otra vez que muchas veces están utilizando la ayuda de Florida Highway Patrol para hacer estas cosas. Y por último les enseño este warehouse, que es un almacén para cosas, no para personas. Nosotros somos seres humanos y vamos a seguir luchando para tener nuestra dignidad respetada, porque antes de todo, esa es la cosa fundamental. I also want to remind everyone that we have constitutional rights in this country. One, you have the right to remain silent. Two, you have the right to not sign anything unless you have an attorney present. And then finally, ICE cannot go inside your house unless they have a judicial warrant signed by a judge. And you have the right to refuse them from coming into your house unless they have a judicial warrant. We are distributing these cards across our entire community in several languages, English, Spanish, Portuguese, and Haitian Creole. And today we're going to be hearing from some of our incredible elected officials who are in the forefront of this fight, but also community members that are deeply impacted. Bueno, aquí también les quería informar otra vez que nosotros tenemos derechos constitucionales, independiente de nuestro estatus migratorio. Primero, tú tienes el derecho a guardar el silencio. Segundo, tú no tienes que firmar nada sin la presencia de tu abogado. Y por último, no tienes la obligación de abrir la puerta a ICE si ellos no tienen una orden judicial firmada por un juez. Estamos distribuyendo estas tarjetitas de tus derechos, con tus derechos en inglés, español, criollo y también en portugués en toda nuestra comunidad. Hoy vamos a escuchar de diferentes líderes electos que nos están apoyando de manera increíble y al mismo tiempo también vamos a escuchar de diferentes líderes comunitarios que están hablando de cómo sus comunidades están impactadas en este momento. Now, I want to begin by asking our state senator for Apopka, who represents us here, but also someone who has a deep roots in the civil rights movement in our state and our country. I'd like to invite Senator LaVon Bracey Davis to the podium.
Greetings. As was mentioned, I am State Senator LaVon Bracey Davis. And Felipe has asked me to kind of level set this moment and center us. What I'm supposed to be saying is Happy Martin Luther King Day. That's what my script says. But today, it doesn't feel happy. On this day, I have two parades in my district, one in Apopka. Today is supposed to be a day of service and celebration. Today should be about realizing the dream, not repeating a nightmare. And instead, here we are at a press conference admonishing ICE for terrorizing our community. And that alone should tell you everything about how far we still have to go on this Martin Luther King Day. In 1967, at the Southern Christian Leadership Conference in Atlanta, Dr. King delivered a speech entitled, "Where Do We Go From Here?" In that speech, he said, "Let us be dissatisfied until justice rolls down like waters and righteousness like a mighty stream." He said, "Let us be dissatisfied until those who live on the outskirts of hope are brought into the metropolis of daily security." Dr. King told us we must be dissatisfied, and today, 59 years later, we are still profoundly dissatisfied. I am dissatisfied with the use of fear as public policy. I am dissatisfied with immigrant families treated as threats instead of neighbors. I am dissatisfied with a government that quotes King in the morning and contradicts him by the afternoon. Y'all, I am dissatisfied. But the antidote is we must continue to be vigilant, because nothing we tolerate will ever be transformed. Nothing we normalize will ever be corrected. Justice is not selective. Freedom is not conditional, and human dignity is not negotiable. To our immigrant families, hear me clearly, you are not alone. You are seen. You are valued. You are a part of the promise and not the problem. Hear me clearly. And let me say this as a call to action. Those who live in proximity to privilege must be on the front line of this fight. Let me say that again. Those who live in proximity to privilege must be on the front line of this fight. If you are safe, you should be standing with those who are not. If you are protected, you should be advocating for those who are exposed. If you benefit from this system, you should be working to remake it. Yes, I am calling you out. Because the burden of justice cannot rest solely on the backs of the vulnerable. Dr. King reminded us that the arc of the moral universe bends towards justice, but it bends faster when the dissatisfied pick it up, put it to work, and stand in the gap. And today, we work. And we remind Orange County, we remind Florida, and we remind this nation that we are our brothers and sisters keeper. Thank you, and God bless.
Thank you, Senator LaVon Bracy Davis, and thank you for your wise, incredible words and a reminder of what MLK Day is supposed to be about and the dream that is still unfulfilled for way too many people in our community. I also want to recognize Representative Vanesca Money, who just have arrived. Thank you so much for being here. Well, again, you know, this is an incredibly difficult day for a lot of us who are getting 50 calls a day. And who are extremely overwhelmed by the ways in which our own community and sometimes our own families are impacted. I want to invite now my great friend and our big champion, really, truly someone who is fighting for us in Congress right now. And I want to elevate him for a second because it takes courage to speak up. It takes courage to say what needs to be said. And he is someone who has been getting life threats because of what he has said on social media to warn our community about the danger ahead. So without further ado, someone who doesn't need a lot of introduction, I'd like to invite Congressman Maxwell Frost to the podium.
Thank you. Good afternoon. I'm Congressman Maxwell Frost, and I'm just so proud to be here today at Hope Community Center with advocates and organizers who are fighting to ensure that every single American, which is every single person and human in our community, is treated with dignity and respect. And I want to echo Senator Bracy Davis's remarks as we stand here united in rejecting ICE and rejecting what it represents to our community. Because Dr. King's legacy is not just a chapter in a history book. It is unfinished business. Unfinished business. I was talking this morning about the fact that some days, when I have a hard day in D.C., which, believe it or not, there's a lot of hard days in D.C., I walk around the FDR and Martin Luther King Jr. Memorial. And if you've been out there to the Martin Luther King Jr. Memorial, it is unfinished. And when the sculptor was asked how come he didn't finish it, he said, because the work remains unfinished. The work remains unfinished. So even though, and I was just talking with Senator Bracy Davis, that it's disappointing we have to be here at this press conference talking about this today, I can see no other way to celebrate and walk in the tradition of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. than to reject ICE in our community. And right now, this administration claims that it is bringing justice and peace and safety to our communities. But I see the exact opposite thing. Ask yourself, do you feel safer now than you did 2 years ago? No. Do you feel like there's less chaos in our communities now than you did 2 years ago? Donald Trump doesn't care about your safety. He cares about power. And that's what all of this is about. ICE is not making us safe. It is destabilizing our neighborhoods and communities across this country. We are seeing immigration enforcement driven by fear, secrecy, and political agendas rather than humanity, due process, and real public safety. It's about control, intimidation. It's about creating chaos and then pointing to the most vulnerable in our community and blaming them for the chaos that they did not create. And we all know this to be true. I repeat it over and over and over again. We have a crisis in this country. Our country has the most wealth it's ever had, but people can't pay for the damn food at the grocery store. And Donald Trump wants you to think it's because of your immigrant neighbor. But you have more in common. You have more of a similar bank account to your immigrant neighbor than you to Donald Trump. We have to stop letting these people tear us apart as a community. Stop looking around and start looking up. Let's also realize that this entire ICE racket is being used to enrich the same billionaires and corporations that are donors to the people voting on the legislation. With our money. I remember going to the Everglades internment camp. They call it Alligator Alcatraz. I was there with Senator Bracy Davis and Representative Escamani. And I remember going down on the bus and seeing the line of private jets there. I asked who these jets belong to. Is it the state? Is it the federal government? No, it belonged to executives of the companies making money off of the detention facility. All of these things are connected. But we're here today to talk about ICE and the fact that last year was the deadliest year for ICE in our nation's history. 32 people died in ICE custody, the highest number in more than 20 years. Families begged for medical care that never came. 6 people died in December alone. And all of these deaths were preventable deaths caused by neglect in a system that operates in the shadows. So when ICE talks about potentially opening up another facility, they're not talking about reform to fix the broken detention center or immigration system. They're talking about expanding a system that has failed and caused irreparable harm to families and death. And I am standing up for my constituents by saying not a single one, not a facility. We don't want ICE in our communities. We want peace in our communities. And opening another detention facility will only create more harm, more trauma, and more suffering. We know that Renee Good should be alive.
Come on.
We know that people are dying in ICE custody as we speak. And we know that unless we change how this system works, more people will die. The people of Orange County and Orlando and Florida's 10th Congressional District do not, and we reject an ICE detention facility in our backyard. But let's be clear about what's going on around the entire nation. They're shopping around warehouses. This is one of the many that they're looking at opening. In fact, they said it themselves. They want to be like an Amazon Prime for humans. Sounds a little familiar. This administration wants us all to believe that what they're doing is just, but the people know better. The people know that we have rights. And I want to be very clear, making sure that we don't fund an agency that is tear gassing our people in the streets, that we don't fund an agency that has shot and killed a U.S. citizen, a human, a person who was following their directions. Shot her in the face. Her car then turned into a casket that rolled uncontrollably and hit a pole. And as the car rolled away with her dead body in it, an ICE agent called her a fucking bitch. Not one penny. Not one penny of our taxpayer dollars should go to fund an agency that is obviously operating with impunity and feels like they can do whatever they want. And a president that has told them, do whatever you want. So I want to be very clear today as I go back to D.C. tomorrow morning, potentially voting on the DHS funding bill this week, if not next week, that I am a strong no on that bill.
That's right.
I'm a no on that bill. Here in Central Florida, we refuse to let fear rule us. We refuse to let them pit ourselves against one another. We love one another.
That's right.
And that's what Dr. King stood for. When you love your neighbor, you want them to have a life that they can afford. You want them to have their rights, and you want them to be able to live in this country. We are neighbors. We are not foes. We're going to continue to fight together to ensure that we push and make sure that this facility does not open up in Orange County or in Central Florida. We don't need any more of this. We don't want this chaos. And let's be very clear, what's going on in Minneapolis is on purpose.
Yeah, that's right.
This administration is sending not just ICE battalions to these blue cities, but sending them with camera crews, flying out influencers and creators to create a situation that they can take and market to get more people to join ICE and get more funding.
Right.
The whole thing is a racket meant to pit us against one another. But I'm so proud to be here, not just as elected officials, but community leaders, as advocates, as clergy, to say we reject this in our community. We reject this. We want our taxpayer dollars going to make this country more affordable. We want our taxpayer dollars going to ensure that you can afford to send your kids to school, that you can afford the groceries in the grocery store, and that you actually have health care. We don't want our money going towards terrorizing our own communities and our own neighbors. And we will stand against this chaos, and we will stand for true public safety, which means we do not want ICE in our community. Thank you.
Thank you, Congressman Frost, for your incredible words. Just to reiterate, our demands are no ICE in Central Florida. We don't need ICE here. ICE is wreaking havoc in our community, destroying our families, and creating pain that we can never get it back from. We are also calling on all of our local elected officials to stand strong against the Lake Nona Detention Center. That in the same place that they are building medical centers, they are considering a detention center that will house 1,500 people in a place that was meant for merchandise. And we are calling on all of our elected officials to end all collaboration with ICE, with local police and in our local jails. But to really exemplify the pain and the depth of the pain of this community, we've asked for 3 different people to share a particular perspective. So today we're going to hear from Samuel Vilches, who is from the Venezuelan caucus, sharing a little bit about how this is impacting the Venezuelan community as TPS has ended just recently.
Thank you so much, Felipe, and thank you so much for everybody being here. My name is Samuel Vilches Santiago, and today I speak as a Venezuelan American, also a member of the Hope Community Center Board, and a member of the board of the Venezuelan American Caucus, a national organization that advocates for Venezuelan Americans and the Venezuelan community here in the United States. And I wanted to talk to you about a few of the stories that really reflect the pain and suffering that we are seeing in our communities. And even a really personal story on how our family has been impacted. 15 days ago, my dad's cousin was detained in Oregon while she was shopping at a Costco. She's a hardworking business owner. She operates a VPK that she started. She has 2 young daughters. She was following the law, as she had been told to do. She had applied for asylum and was waiting her asylum hearing. She was under TPS, which was taken away by this administration just 3 months ago. And overnight, she went from being protected to being undocumented. That is happening to families right here in Florida. Nearly 1 million people in this state, many of them Venezuelan or Haitian, have gone from having lawful status under temporary protected status to now being pretty much fully undocumented. These folks work, pay taxes, attend our churches, run our businesses, and keep our economy moving. Their children go to our schools. Florida is their home, and they are our neighbors. You can feel the impact already. Businesses are quieter, restaurants are empty, construction sites are short-staffed. Parents are afraid to drive. Workers are afraid to show up. Fear is shutting down entire neighborhoods. And we, every American, will pay the price of such a cruel and unbecoming immigration policy being pushed by this administration. I have friends who are here, who have followed the law and are awaiting their asylum case, who recently, as I mentioned, had TPS. And now for the last week, they have stayed in their homes, quarantining as if there was a pandemic happening. Not because they want to, but because they're afraid. Afraid of being detained and seeing their rights stripped away. One of my many moms, community moms, who has a pending green card application, told me on Saturday, I feel more fear here than I did back in Venezuela under a murderous dictatorship. And let's be real. Venezuela is still under the same Maduro regime many of us escaped. There has been no democratic transition, there's no safe return, and no amount of political messaging from this administration changes that reality. So we have to ask ourselves, what kind of country do we want to be? Are we a nation of immigrants? I believe this is a moment that requires us standing together as we are standing here, building coalitions among different communities, faith communities, businesses, and everyone in our community to say very clear, right here in Central Florida, we do not want an ICE detention center. And I think it is upon all of us to make it clear to our elected officials in Orange County, in the city of Orlando, and the 13 other municipalities right here in our community, that we will not accept an ICE detention center in our community. Because an ICE detention center will no longer continue to create fear for immigrants. It will literally crumble our economy, and it will destroy our community. Orlando is a city built by immigrants, and we must honor that commitment and that history by standing strong with our immigrant communities and standing against fascism and fear driven by Trump's deportation force. Thank you. Now I'm going to say it quickly in Spanish. El día de hoy estoy aquí como líder venezolano y estamos denunciando la escalada por parte de ICE que hemos visto en los últimos días aquí en Orlando. Como venezolano hemos visto que en los últimos meses casi 1 millón de personas que son residentes de nuestro estado, que van a nuestras escuelas, que crean empleos y tienen empresas acá, que van a nuestras iglesias, han perdido su estatus migratorio cuando eliminaron el TPS. 1 millón de personas que son nuestros vecinos, que el día de hoy viven bajo la zozobra de no saber si cuando sus hijos salen de las escuelas, ellos van a estar ahí para recibirlos en su casa. Nosotros somos un país de inmigrantes. Le guste o no le guste a nuestros gobernantes, los Estados Unidos son un país de inmigrantes. Y el día de hoy estamos aquí juntos para dejarles saber claramente que en el centro de la Florida no queremos a ICE. En el centro de la Florida no queremos ningún centro de detención que vaya a poner a nuestra comunidad bajo el miedo, bajo la zozobra y que vaya a afectar a nuestras empresas, a nuestra economía y a nuestras comunidades. Así que el llamado es claro a nuestros oficiales electos en el condado Orange, en la ciudad de Orlando y en las 13 municipalidades que son parte de este condado, que nosotros, aquí todos unidos, le decimos no a ICE. Muchas gracias.
Muchas gracias también por sus palabras tan poderosas de cómo la comunidad venezolana está sumamente impactada con lo que está pasando en nuestra comunidad. Y ahora también me encantaría llamar a una colega, una amiga que está trabajando con la comunidad haitiana para hablar de lo que está pasando en la comunidad haitiana pocos días antes del fin del TPS para Haití. Well, now I'm going to call on the stage, on this podium rather, my good friend, colleague who is working deeply with the Haitian community to speak to what is the impact in the Haitian community in the eve of the end of TPS for Haiti, and also in the Pine Hills community, as we continue to hear reports of even door-to-door raids happening there. Without further ado, I'd like to call Heather to the stage, or to the podium.
Bonsoir. Nom c'est Heather Pierre-Joseph. M'kampe la jodia pour m'parler pour tête haïtien. Nous connaissons TPS a pas fini. Nous souhaitons y pas fini, mais si fini, la fini sous février 3, 2026. Laisse nous connaissons, nous sortis, nous connaissons Aïssa vini, pas ouvert porte, pas parler, après ça, pas si rien. Nous voulons nous connaître pour nous voir tout le monde qui campe là, tout le monde campe pour la communauté haïtienne. Nous connaissons yo maltraité nous. Mais nous connaissons avec force 10 804, nous campe là, nous campe à force. Kem loum connaît gen moun kap mouim connaît gen moun nan detention moun aprele nous connaît. Même vle haïtien connaît. Chaque fois qu'il y a une élection, ou voter, ça c'est consistance pour voter. Good afternoon. My name is Heather Pierre-Joseph. May the words of my mouth and the meditation of my heart be acceptable in thy sight. I come before you today. I have my notes. However, I speak as an impacted person. With each and every opportunity I get, I wear multiple hats. I'm a descendant of an enslaved African. So I speak in the spirit of Martin Luther King today. Martin Luther King would have been sitting on the floors of City Hall, praying and chanting, "I believe in civil disobedience." In the spirit of Toussaint Louverture, 1804, I am a descendant of freed Africans who liberated Haiti. I speak with that same spirit of civil disobedience. But I ask us to be cognizant of the fact, I'm here to talk about Haiti. Haiti finds itself in a peculiar place. I call it the double-edged sword. The freedom of 1804 and then the curse of 1804. So please forgive me. I am a descendant, I'm not a descendant, I am one of those children that were on the boats in the 1980s. I am the boat people's children, and I speak with that spirit. When they came over in the 80s, they came over because of the guns. They come over because of the fear. As we see in Pine Hills today across the United States of America, we see that immigrants are fearful. I want America to understand. I'm speaking for Haiti, but I'm speaking for every immigrant. My Somalian brothers and sisters, we're not coming to America to extract anything. America has extracted from Haiti. America wants to extract from Venezuela. America wants to extract from everywhere. We're coming here because of the gun violence. And now we find our place in the United States where we're not safe. The Haitian community, yes, we're in fear. Children aren't going to school. Orange County public schools throughout the state of Florida. Schools are closing. In America, we close schools. What happened to leaving no child left behind? We're leaving a generation of children behind. So yes, there is fear in the Haitian community. But remember, the spirit of 1804. We stand for justice. We stand united, and we will fight. How will we fight? We will fight with civil disobedience. Yes, we will. Yes, we will. And yes, we will. Some of us know we may not make it. What does that mean? Some of us may die, and some of us may shed our blood. And we're having these conversations. Some of us, like myself, who has been naturalized. Donald Trump is saying he wants 200 and 400 naturalized American citizens, cases to be reviewed to denaturalize us. My Caribbean family, I hear you, I get the brunt of the calls. Anyone that's overstayed their visa, he is now looking into those. I call on President Donald Trump right now to look at Melania Trump when she overstayed her visa. Is she going to go into a detention center? Yes, I'm speaking of the Haitian experience. We are all one. I speak of unity. And if I don't do this, my people won't be proud. As Haitians sit in detention, we all know the gun violence, the human trafficking that's taking place in Haiti. Haiti does not have an elected government. However, some of my Caribbean brothers and sisters have decided to take detainees from the United States. Guess what? They're not taking Haitians. And for that, we're angry. And so I am forced to speak on their voice. And I'll leave you with this. It appears as though we're silent. We're not silent. To President Trump and DeSantis, not just for Haitians, but for all immigrants, we say to you, let our people go. Come on. Thank you.
Let our people go. Let our people go. Let our people go. Now I want to ask for a friend of many years, someone who has been at the forefront of the fight for workers' rights, for farm workers' rights, someone who has stood time and time again with the immigrant community and all communities that have been disenfranchised. My good friend, Jessica Ramirez, she's going to share her words in Spanish.
Tenemos un año con esta pesadilla, que dentro de toda la gente afectada, los miembros de nuestra organización que más han sido afectados son los trabajadores del campo y los trabajadores de construcción. Diciendo que obviamente ellos no son criminales porque donde los están deteniendo en su mayoría es camino al trabajo o en el trabajo. Si fueran criminales, entonces los estuvieran buscando en otros lados. Nuestras comunidades lo único que están haciendo es buscar un mejor futuro para sus hijos, los cuales los niños en su mayoría son los que están pagando las consecuencias de la separación de familias. Tenemos varias familias que se acercan con nosotros y lamentablemente, como la mayoría de detenidos son padres que van a trabajar a construcción, las mamás se quedan como los pilares de los hogares. Y mayormente estos pilares de hogares que se quedan solas son trabajadores del campo y con este salario no les alcanza para poder sustentar su hogar. Encima de que están sufriendo una situación emocional difícil, ahora es económica. La semana pasada, mi compañera, que tiene emplacado un carro con un apellido hispano, fue detenida, fue parada por un state trooper. Este state trooper le dijo que el motivo por el cual estaba parando era porque tenía el sticker no se veía claro. Cuando mi compañera le dice, yo soy ciudadana, que está mi licencia, entonces necesito ver por qué me estás parando. Entonces se bajó mi compañera a acompañar al agente para ver qué era lo que estaba pasando. Y el sticker se veía perfectamente. Solamente la estaba parando porque su carro estaba emplacado con un nombre hispano. Entonces, eso es lo que está viviendo nuestra comunidad. Obviamente, si ella hubiera sido indocumentada, pretexto para llevársela detenida y ya sabemos lo que pasa después. Así que esto es lo que está viviendo nuestra comunidad todos los días y no solamente ellos están pagando las consecuencias, sino también hemos hablado con muchos dueños de negocios locales y ellos están aterrorizados porque su clientela les ha bajado en una gran cantidad. También tenemos un conocido que es contratista de las fincas de la Blueberry y ellos también están cortos de mano de obra porque sus trabajadores se les venció el TPS o se les está por vencer. Entonces ellos están sin mano de obra para piscar la Blueberry, así que eso quiere decir que si no encuentran empleados aquí en Estados Unidos van a tener que traer trabajadores H2A, por ende su mano de obra les va a salir mucho más cara y nosotros también vamos a pagar las consecuencias con el precio de los productos.
Very summarized version there. So Jessica talked about how farm workers have been deeply impacted by this, but also our community at large, including the pain that immigrant families are feeling, especially children, but also the economic cost that happens when the breadwinner of a family gets taken out. And the incredible, not only the emotional toil, but also the economic toll the families are enduring. Stores that have depended deeply on immigrants as consumers are reporting that their sales are down, including potentially having to close their stores. And even blueberry farmers are saying that they had to let go of their workers who had TPS, which means that they might have to bring people from out of the country here, which will not only make the cost of labor higher, but it will likely mean that our groceries are going to go up too. I wanted to share a couple of stories from Hope too that we have received. So one is Jose, a 26-year-old. He was living here since he was only 3 years old, so he was a dreamer just like me. Back in December, he was followed by ICE from a shopping center home and got arrested in front of his parents. Who were watching the whole thing. He don't even have a traffic violation, so he was racially profiled. He's currently in Alabama waiting to be deported, and his family is completely broken. Enrique is from Brazil. He was detained right before Christmas, so imagine going home to your Christmas party without your family member there. His sister said that he was treated like an animal, no food and no shower for days. The handcuffs were so tight that he couldn't have circulation in his wrist. His parents had arrived from Brazil to spend Christmas with him and his sister for the first time, and had to spend the whole time calming him down when he called because he was crying so much that he couldn't even speak anymore. These are the stories of what's really happening here. But it's not only bad news, because we have communities standing up against the Lake Nona Detention Center, standing up against the atrocities happening to our neighbors, standing up more than ever, more than I have ever seen it before, So just last Thursday, in 24 hours, we put out a call to action to ask people to come forward and become legal observers from ICE, and 300 people came. That is the kind of community we are, and I want us to be reminded of that. So I want to ask my friend Corey Hill to come here and share how our community is planning to fight back.
So they call Orlando the city beautiful, and as we're gathered here to honor the legacy of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.'s work through both reflection and action, what Felipe mentioned and what we have seen from this community is the antidote to that ugliness that this fascist administration is trying to brutalize us with. What we've seen from this community in the previous weeks, months, and years, that's what makes Orlando beautiful. This event that he mentioned, there were people standing outside in the cold, and you know how Floridians feel about anything below 70 degrees, taking notes. And every single person there was asking what more they could do. We have a system that identifies whether people have been there for the first time or whether they're a returning person. Most of the people in that room, this was their first time stepping up. And to those folks, we say, welcome. There's never been a better time than now to get involved. Because as this administration seeks to rip apart our neighborhoods with their brutal ethnic cleansing campaign, the community response lets me know that no matter what they throw at us, we are going to win. I know that absolutely in my heart, and I say that to everyone that I meet. Our communities are showing that we will not be divided. Right now, people are organizing mutual aid efforts to keep people fed. We're coming together to urge our county commission to be brave with us and to end their 287G cooperation agreements. Just this past weekend, over 500 people assembled on the steps of City Hall to demand ICE out of Orlando. Community groups have distributed hundreds of whistles and thousands of Know Your Rights cards. And as Felipe mentioned, last Thursday, over 300 people showed up with just a day's notice, learning how to mobilize in response to ICE raids and how to safely document the abuses that we're seeing. For anybody who's sitting on the fence right now, know that there are ways for you to plug in, and they don't look the same for everybody. Not everybody is in a position and has the risk tolerance that they can be out on the streets following ICE around. I know that some of our speakers have mentioned that those with the most privilege, this is your time to step up, and I'm calling on every single one of you, please come, step up. We are looking for you. But there are a lot of levers that we can pull to make change happen, and everyone has a lever that they can pull no matter where they are. There is work that can be done at home. There are phone calls that can be made to the elected officials. Every single one of those levers of power matters, and if we're going to win and dismantle this hate machine that we're up against, we need everybody working together, assembled, mobilized, organized, and building our power collectively. A lot of people understand change through very narrow avenues. They see a big protest, they see voting, and they think that people are only showing up once every 6 months or 2 months. But I want people to know that there are people organized and ready to take you in that are taking action every single day to dismantle what the Trump administration is trying to brutalize us with. And I want to remind everyone that those maps that we saw earlier represent a human life shattered in just a moment. They represent a family that has been destroyed. And I, for one, am not going to call this an immigration crackdown because that is not what it is. This is explicitly an ethnic cleansing campaign. The Supreme Court's ruling, the so-called Kavanaugh stops, have made very clear that this has nothing to do with crime. This has nothing to do with immigration. And this has everything to do with the white nationalist fantasies of the trolls within this administration. So let us be clear about what we are up against. This is as ugly as it gets. The attacks that we are seeing on our communities are the leading edge of this fascist administration's attempt to brutalize all of us. And I want people to recognize clearly that we are not all facing this threat equally, but we are all facing this threat. And if we don't stand together now, they will divide us up and rip us apart and stomp us into the dirt.
That's right.
The people in this room have been doing this work for years and decades. And what I know about what I have seen from this community is that we have the tools to win. We know what works. We need to get mobilized. We need people to join this effort, and they are doing so in droves. We want everyone who is thinking about getting in this fight to do so. We encourage people to visit Orlando 5051 online to find more information about ways that you can get plugged in. You can't just type in Google how to get rid of ICE and get a clear answer. So we are providing resources for people on how to get plugged in. You don't have to reinvent the wheel. If there is some way that you want to make change, one of these community groups is likely already doing that, and you can get plugged in right away. You don't have to start something from scratch. And everyone needs to know that there is a way for everyone to get involved. Everybody doesn't have to do everything, but everybody can do something, and you all got to do something right now. So what I'm asking for everybody to do is band together and show the state and the country and these bastards in the White House what makes Orlando beautiful. Because in Orlando, immigrants are welcome.
That's right.
But I'll tell you who isn't, and that's ICE.
That's right.
Everything that we are doing is to keep each other safe and to get ICE out of Orlando. And we're not stopping at ending county-wide agreements. We're not stopping at making sure that this building is huge. I went and saw it with my own eyes. This is a shipping and receiving warehouse that they want to fill with human beings. And we're saying not here in Orlando. But it doesn't stop there. If we're going to keep each other safe, there's two things that we got to do. We got to abolish ICE, and we got to get these fascists out of power. We're not stopping until that's done. So please, what we know works is when communities come together. We have to build trust. We have to gather resources. We have to share the knowledge we have about what works in this fight. And so I encourage everybody, please get involved with the community organization that's doing this work. Please check out Orlando 5051. Check out the Hope Community Center. Now is the time. Now is the time. Now is the time. No one can sit on the sidelines. Thank you.
Thank you, Corey. Thank you, Corey. Well, you know, just as a Hope Community Center alongside more than 60 organizations have started the Immigrants Are Welcome Here Coalition. We have been mobilizing pretty much almost every single week to the county commissions, and we have found 2 champions for our community. And I really want to elevate the power of our allies. Because what happens oftentimes is, as a community member, we look on TV and we think, oh my goodness, everybody hates us. That is not true. Not in this community. We have seen electeds come here and speak, and they are taking that same speech, whatever they're going next. Even though we're not going to hear from Representative Vanessa Kamani, she is definitely one of our big champions, and someone who is fighting in Tallahassee and is getting ready to make sure that we don't end up with this Lake Nona detention center. But every single day that goes by, hundreds of people are getting arrested. When I checked on Friday night, there were almost 400 people detained with the ICE hoods. These are actual human beings. These are empty seats on a dining table. These are birthdays that will never be realized. These are children who got home to no parents. That is that cost. So I asked for Commissioner Wilson to come up here and give us an update about how things are going on the jails, but also the effective ways that our county commissions and our cities should be standing up right now. Please, Commissioner Wilson, come.
Thank you so much, and I want to acknowledge the importance of the free press. And we still have a Constitution, we still have the First Amendment, And so many of the things that come to us we would not know about but for the digging of our journalists, people who really feel like it's their job to make sure we have public eyes on things that are affecting our public. So thank you for that. Yes, I want to bring the temperature down, though, just a little bit, because I think and I'm a very fiery commissioner. You guys have seen me potentially on the board. I am usually the one up there, you know, with the fire in my eyes. But today I keep thinking about what the idea of approaching everything with love, everything with light, and understanding the teachings of that passive resistance, and using facts, data, policy, and the law we already have to protect our individual members of our community. And so, yes, I too went out to take a look at what appears to be a confirmed location for detention. And I think it was a great thing to hear the call to action for our individuals, right? If you're somebody out there and you've been sitting on the sideline, it is the time, right? Because you might be on the next list. And I'm not saying that as some form of fear-mongering. I'm saying that people who have protected status, it's going away. For people who believe that they have naturalized, we're hearing that's under threat. We do not know where this ends. And as somebody whose family got here because their Jewish grandmother's village was burnt to the ground, we know from history that it doesn't happen overnight. It happens incrementally. So to go back to the data, one of the things I wanted to share was, Felipe is exactly right. The number of detainees that have come through Orange County Corrections continues to go up. We are at a 930% increase over the snapshot month of December. 930%. Now, just because I think I've been trolled also online and in person, well, they're criminals, so they should be. No local and state charges. These are individuals with no local and state charges. So debunk that myth. These are people who are getting up and going to work. They are sometimes students. They are parents, sisters, caretakers, and it's devastating to see what it's doing to our community. When it comes to what we have heard potentially may be happening at this site, I am by practice an environmental attorney, and my first thought was, wait, they don't have the land use permission to operate a detention facility in a corporate park. So I'm going to pursue that as a county commissioner who land use is directly within what we do, as you know, the Florida Constitution allows. We do those permissions, whether it's affecting the amount of consumptive water, whether it's affecting the amount of sewer that goes into the sewage system. It seems like a strange way to get at this, but you know what? We do that in local government. We try to look at those uses. This is an industrial park. That's right. They're not talking about 1,500 widgets. They're talking about 1,500 individuals, humans, people who will inevitably have, you know, lives that they're being pulled from. So I'm going to do everything in my power to make sure that we are preventing this. My call to action is different. What I would like is that if you are a business owner who operates in this area, this is near Sunbridge, this is, there's all kinds of different businesses around here. Big propellers for our cruise ships are stored around the corner. Is this the neighbor you want? Do you want a detention facility? And by the way, City Beautiful, yes. Also the happiest place on earth. How do we welcome people to a community that we are also saying, and bring your papers, you might be stopped. Right. Right. And then we don't know what's going to happen to you after that. So my call is to our industry partners, our corporate partners. This will affect you. It is affecting you. It's going to get worse. We need your participation. If you have not been a NIMBY, now is the time. And NIMBY stands for Not in My Backyard.
Now's the time to do it.
Now's the time.
Absolutely.
I also want to make sure I'm opening up my time, not just right now, but any time that anybody wants to talk about these issues. I think it's also really important that we stay transparent, because probably my biggest concern at every stop along the way is the lack of transparency we're getting from both our state and our federal government. As a county official, we learn about things sometimes via tweet or whatever social media of the day, and that's not appropriate. We need to have conversations. We need to work as a collaborative body, and I want our citizens to know they're not alone and that their local government is going to continue to be responsive in every way possible.
Thank you, Commissioner. Thank you so much. Well, this concludes our press conference. I want to say one more time, I am Felipe Sosa Lazabale. I'm the Executive Director of the Hope Community Center. Here at the Hope Community Center, we've been here for 50 years, fighting for every single human. And Sister Ann reminds me oftentimes that when she first arrived here in Apopka, and this was a segregated city, that she had burning crosses outside her house because she was fighting so people of color had access to health care in this community right now. And the fact that we are on this side of the track in this moment is because we have won in the past, and we will continue to win because MLK was correct. The arc of justice will always bend towards us because our dignity comes first. And I say this. It's a deeply personal issue for me. I was undocumented for 15 years of my life, and I still have people in my family hiding right now. People who I have said to them on the phone, do not come, stay home, because it is too scary to drive just down the street right now. That is not the community I want to live in. That is not the community I believe we want to build. I always love Central Florida for our diversity and how proud we are for who we are, for coming from every place of the world, for electing people who have immigrant backgrounds, for doing what we have done, building this community step by step, literally rock by rock, built brick by brick. And our stories are the most American of all stories. It is the stories of people who have come from faraway places, fighting for a better life for themselves and their community and their family. And every single day, when you wake up at 5 a.m. to go to work, to do a job that many people don't want to do, you are contributing. You are building this community, and you are making it better. So my message to the immigrant and Latino and Haitian community is, you're not alone. We're standing strong, and we will fight day and night because we belong here. I'm going to open up to see if there's any questions. We'll take a couple, or we can do one-on-ones. Oh, there's a question by Mike.
For Commissioner Wilson about the potential detention center, what gives you confidence that local jurisdictions, I guess in this case the city, because this falls within the local jurisdiction, or under their jurisdiction rather, can go toe-to-toe with the federal government and slow walk this process?
I love that whatever I expressed sounded like I'm saying it with great confidence. I think the reality of it is it's in our wheelhouse because that's what we do, is we do zoning, and the county does, the city does. We do have a joint planning agreement with the city. I did submit a memo today with potential draft language looking at trying to get our hands around this in the most really, I think, achievable way possible, which is to understand that this wasn't built for human beings to be located in. And, I think we can all agree about the humanitarian issues with loading docks being filled with cots. But what we may not really understand is also that is not set up for the type of waste collection that's going to require. That it's at the very back of a corporate park that has 7 other corporate neighbors with large amounts of heavy equipment coming and going. This is a logistical issue as much as it is a humanitarian issue. And so if local government, based on the Florida Constitution, is where we look at that permitting, we look at the use and the underlying land use, then we should be scrutinizing this. This is not like the other detention facilities where it was federal land, state land, or some other type of allowable use. This is private. This is private, and quite frankly, if the landowner, who I believe is a part of an LLC out of Atlanta, is watching this, it's not too late for you to get out of that lease, because this may be, historically something that I think we're going to be able to look back on and say, well, who all was complicit?
Do you know if anything's been signed yet in
I
terms of
don't.
a lease? Okay.
You were the one that got me the most information, and I can't tell you how grateful I am, asking the tough questions. And, for a local official, that's all we want. We want to know, what are these operations, what's going on here, because ultimately the health, safety, and welfare of all of Orange County is what we're committed to. So not having that information, it is really frustrating, but also par for the course. Like I said, we get information from the state via social media, which is frustrating.
Can I add something to that too? Would that be okay?
Yeah, of course.
Thank you so much, Commissioner Wilson, for your incredible leadership. And I just want to add that, we heard about this through a leak from a national partner that emailed me while I was on the House floor, and then we quickly shared it with all different actors here and members of the press. So no information actually came from the federal government, it came from the state government, and when I spoke to the city of Orlando about it, they were completely clueless. No one had even contacted Orlando Police Department. Typically, law enforcement talks to law enforcement across the jurisdictions, and so they're operating in the shadows. What we do know is that back in mid-December, there was a leaked memo from ICE saying that they were looking at warehouses across the country. And of course, because of the work of the free press and activists here, folks were on location when DHS officials came. So everything that we know is because we're digging for it. And I've already called the private company, TPA Group, to ask them what is going on and what conversations have they had. And at the same time, this is right now in the city of Orlando's jurisdiction. I think it's important the county play a leadership role, but the city do the same. But because of the nature of what is being requested, it would require a conditional use permit, a CUP. And a CUP would have to first go before the municipal planning board and then city council. So that's why we're making this clear that we need everyone to be brave. And I look at Commissioner Wilson and Commissioner Simron, the only two no votes. As it pertains to the county contract on 207G for the jail, and everyone said they would be removed, and they're still standing. Yeah. And they're still standing loud and proud. Yeah. And so this is the time to be brave, and obviously I'll head back to Tallahassee later tonight for the legislative session. We're going to be fighting these battles from every angle, but I think it's so important to remember the exercise of authority that local jurisdictions have, and not to be afraid to use it.
Yeah. No, well said. Well said, and I think the best government is also a collaborative government. So when you get to see state, local, and federal officials at something like this, and we're talking and we're trying to figure it out, that should encourage everybody that we're working on behalf of the people who put us here. I do want to follow up about the sort of where the county commission and the two votes. Our corrections personnel, our corrections facility, it is an incredibly hardworking, and I'm so grateful to them. Every single day. They really are an asset to everybody that lives here. But they have their hands full, actually, in the criminal justice system. And so my no vote was really about making sure that our resources at our jail are resources held for our criminal justice system, not for a federal errand, a federal commandeering. And so understanding that, I've heard, well, then you should be happy that there's a detention center that's coming, because then you won't have to worry about it at the jail. Well, no, that's not okay either, because you're still taking liberty rights away from non-criminals. And that is a violation of really fundamental constitutional principles right here in our backyard. And I mean, this is, 8 miles away from the closest neighborhood. Right. And so, once again, for our neighbors out there who don't want this in their backyard, now is the time. Reach out to your city, county, state, federal. Bring us all in. I know people come down and talk to us, which is awesome, because we open that door for our First Amendment rights for people to come in and talk. But we do think it's just as important that we go directly to the people that have been collaborating with ICE at the state level, and they go straight to our federal decision makers.
take one more question, and then we'll do one-on-ones, if there's any questions for here.
En español, por favor.
Sí,
Bueno, ¿han tenido alguna comunicación con NICE que les confirme a ustedes un operativo a gran escala en Florida Central? ¿O solamente son rumores a través de social media?
So he asked, have we communicated directly with ICE about the big operation, or is it just rumors on social media? That was the question. Bueno, nosotros como lo visto en el mapa enseña exactamente lo que de verdad está pasando en nuestra comunidad. Hubo más de 60 redadas en solamente 24 horas y hubo casi 400 personas que fueron arrestadas en la semana pasada. O sea, tenemos pruebas que sí ha pasado. Obviamente ICE no está hablando con nosotros, no está hablando con nadie. Ni siquiera ha hablado con la ciudad de Orlando y están cerca de poner una detención aquí. O sea, lo que está bien claro aquí es que ICE es otra vez una agencia que está en contra de nuestros derechos y está haciendo todo eso en silencio en vez de enfrente como debería ser en una democracia. Pero aquí tenemos pruebas, tenemos fotos y tenemos historias. Y sí ha pasado y sigue pasando. Y la verdad es que la cuenta está siendo paga no solamente con nuestros impuestos que deberían estar siendo utilizados para la vivienda, para la educación, cosas que de verdad necesitamos, no esta separación de familias que estamos viviendo. Y al vez de eso están poniendo esta plata a aterrorizar a nuestra comunidad inmigrante. Por eso que estamos aquí otra vez y vamos a seguir en esta lucha hasta el fin, porque la verdad es que no podemos contar con el gobierno federal. Y por eso que estamos pidiendo para que nuestros líderes electos del estado y del condado y también de la alcaldía de Orlando estén fuertes y nos protejan en contra de este gran abuso que está pasando ahora. Briefly, what I said was...
I can.
You could-
do it in English too? Yeah, okay.
So you understood, right? It was basically about, like,
Yeah.
how do we know,
Yeah,
even
yeah,
though we
yeah.
haven't got this
Yeah,
from ICE
yeah, yeah.
directly?
Yeah, gracias. We know that there has been memos coming out of ICE as it pertains to Operation Tidal Wave, and so we do have some indication of activity happening in our community. And of course, we've seen the escalation of Florida Highway Patrol and DHS spotted throughout the Tri-County area, specifically parts like Kissimmee and then East Orange County and areas that have large Latino community members, and right here in Apopka as well. And so we have collected this data. You know, there's different online resources like ICE Watch, where as citizens we're collecting data and sharing it to warn people and to show people where these hot spots are. But I have to tell you that the businesses are warning us, schools are facing this. There was ICE presence near University of Central Florida as well. And so it is a community effort to be each other's eyes, essentially. And it's gotten so bad that it's also eroded trust with local law enforcement. On my way over here, I got a text from a colleague who runs a warehouse and has a lot of immigrant workers, and he was getting worried because the sheriff's office was circling his property. And that can be a normal situation of just patrolling the area, but because of this climate, he was fearful that it was a pre-raid about to happen. And so now you're eroding trust with local law enforcement because of your vigilante lawlessness coming out of ICE. But of course, I'd be remiss to acknowledge that we have friends everywhere. And, you know, we have folks who are giving us information and intel. That's how we learned about this detention facility in the first place. None of y'all would have been there on Friday if we didn't get a tip. I mean, that's how ridiculous the situation is getting, but we almost have to operate, you know, in this collaborative way with unlikely allies to get to the truth, because the way that this administration is operating is shameful. It's with the money, it's our tax dollars, but they're operating with no transparency to enrich their friends and detain and separate families. And this is not mass deportation. This is mass detainment. They are detaining bodies for months. People that have court hearings, people that are asylum seekers, who are refugees, who are just waiting. I have a Venezuelan, the very first case that came to my office from the Everglades Immigrant Detention Camp, the first week of July, and he is still detained. Since July of last year, he is still detained, a Venezuelan who is married to an American and still waiting, right? And so this administration, it is completely designed to fill into the replacement theory and to just reduce the diversity that is inevitable in our incredible country. They are so keen on replicating what we've seen, the type of ethnic cleansing in other parts of our history, where they're proud to celebrate Nazi symbols and Nazi propaganda in their recruitment videos. And so at the end of the day, like, we're here to emphasize, of course, the human impact, the economic impact, the environmental impact, but all of this is surrounded by just such a deep shame to see the direction that our country is going, and also a rejection of that, because as people who have deep roots in this community, myself, a daughter of immigrants, we know that we are great because of immigrants, and we are going to be so committed to holding the line and to ensure that everyone knows their rights, and that we work with the business community on practicing your rights and making sure that we mitigate as much harm as we can. So thank you for that question, and I think we're wrapping up right now.
Yeah. So now we're just going to end here and do 101. So thank you again for being here. I know today's MLK Day. You have lots going on. I truly appreciate you. Thank you again for all your work. Really, you learn about things, and that's how we end up finding out, and that's actually how we are working together to really, truly unearth the truth, which is actually what should be given to us, and it isn't given into us right now. The federal government is still our government, and we must hold them accountable at every level. Thank you so much, and we're here for 101s.
I have